For those in the West, India still perhaps conjures images of yoga retreats, spiritual gurus, tasty food, and crippling poverty. And yet, quietly in the 21st century, a $400 billion family-run empire has been amassing a colossal fortune, shaping not just India's economy, but influencing industries across the globe. The Tata family's Tata Group is not merely a corporation. It is an institution, a name so synonymous with trust and industry that it has embedded itself into the very fabric of modern India. With holdings in everything from steel to software, airlines to automobiles, power plants to five-star hotels, the Tata name commands respect in boardrooms from Mumbai to Manhattan. Furthermore, unlike the brash billionaire empires of the West, the Tata dynasty has mastered the art of wielding immense power with a quiet dignity, ensuring that over 66% of its wealth is controlled by philanthropic trusts rather than personal coffers. Therefore, in today's episode of Old Money Luxury, we reveal a tale of ambition, strategy, and generational vision. This is the story of how one Parsi entrepreneur, armed with nothing but determination and an eye for industry, laid the foundation for an empire that would one day shape the future of India itself. When it comes to wealth, power, and influence in India, the Tata family does not just play the game. They wrote the rulebook. Their estimated net worth, indirectly controlled through Tata Sons, hovers around $400 billion, making them India's most formidable business dynasty. But unlike other billionaire clans with their gold-plated vanity projects and obscenely lavish lifestyles, the Tatas have mastered the art of being fabulously rich with a straight face. At the heart of their empire is Tata Sons, a behemoth that owns everything from steel plants to information technology consulting giants, luxury car brands to five-star hotels. The Tata Trusts, which control over 66% of Tata Sons, ensure that while the empire's wealth fuels everything from cancer hospitals to world-class universities, the family itself appears almost monk-like in their personal wealth. Appearances, however, can be deceiving. The Tatas may not be flaunting their riches on Instagram, but their world-class residences, a garage lined with Rolls-Royces and Jaguars, and private jets hopping between continents tell a different story. Ratan Tata, the elder statesman of the family, is still the face of the empire. While officially retired, his influence remains unchallenged. Known for his impeccable style, quiet authority, and an uncanny ability to steer the group through global financial storms, Ratan is the embodiment of Tata's legacy. But with no biological heir, the billion-dollar question remains: who inherits his throne? Enter Natarajan Chandrasekaran, the chairman of Tata Sons, and the man entrusted with steering this corporate juggernaut into the future. A meticulous strategist with an eye for expansion, he has ensured that Tata remains not just relevant, but dominant on the world stage. The sheer scale of Tata's holdings is staggering. Tata Consultancy Services alone is worth over $150 billion, making it the crown jewel of India's information technology industry. Tata Motors owns Jaguar Land Rover, a turnaround story that saw an Indian company rescue one of Britain's most iconic automobile brands. Tata Steel built India's industrial backbone, and their airline holdings, including Air India, are poised to reshape the country's aviation sector. Luxury? The Tata-owned Taj hotels have been the gold standard of hospitality for over a century. And the family's latest investments in green energy and cutting-edge technology prove that they are not just sitting on old money, they are shaping the future. Yet, despite their immense success, the Tata dynasty remains at a crossroads. With no clear family successor and an increasingly complex corporate landscape, the empire's next chapter remains unwritten. They have conquered industries, reshaped economies, and built a fortune so vast it defies comprehension. But to really peek under the hood of the Tata Empire, we must go back to where it all began, when a young Parsi visionary named Jamsetji Tata laid the foundations of what would become India's greatest industrial dynasty. Long before the skyscrapers, the boardrooms, and the billion-dollar balance sheets, the Tata story began in a modest home in Navsari, a small town in Gujarat, in the early 19th century. It was here, in a tight-knit Parsi community, that Jamsetji Nusarwanji Tata was born in 1839, destined to become the architect of India's industrial revolution. The Parsi people, a small but immensely influential minority in India, had long been known for their business acumen, philanthropy, and deep commitment to education. Having fled Persia centuries earlier to escape religious persecution, they had integrated into Indian society while maintaining their own distinct identity. By the 19th century, Parsis had established themselves as prominent traders and industrialists, and young Jamsetji inherited this commercial instinct from his father, Nusarwanji Tata, a merchant dealing in cotton and opium. From an early age, Jamsetji was immersed in the world of trade. His father sent him to Mumbai, then Bombay, a booming commercial hub teeming with opportunity. There, Jamsetji studied at Elphinstone College, one of the most prestigious institutions of the time, where he was exposed to Western economic principles and industrial advancements that would later inform his grand vision for India. After graduating in 1858, he joined his father's trading firm, where he quickly grasped the intricacies of global commerce. The cotton trade, in particular, was a lucrative business at the time, with British demand fueling the Indian economy. But Jamsetji saw beyond the quick profits of trading raw materials. He envisioned India producing its own finished goods, free from British industrial dominance. In 1868, with an entrepreneurial spirit that would define the Tata legacy, Jamsetji struck out on his own and founded Tata & Sons, a company that would go on to shape the Indian industrial landscape. He set his sights on textiles, recognizing that India could rival Manchester's mills with the right infrastructure. In 1874, he established the Empress Mills in Nagpur, a state-of-the-art textile plant that incorporated the latest European machinery, but with a crucial difference. He prioritized worker welfare, introducing pension funds and accident compensation long before they became standard labor practices. But textiles were only the beginning. As he traveled across the world, Jamsetji absorbed the lessons of industrialized nations, studying their steel industries, power grids, and educational institutions. He became obsessed with three grand visions: establishing India's first steel plant, creating a world-class institution for higher education, and harnessing hydroelectric power to industrialize the country. His ambitions were not just about business, they were about nation building. Jamsetji believed that a strong industrial base would be the foundation of India's economic independence. And so, he laid the groundwork for Tata Steel, what would later become the Indian Institute of Science and the country's first hydroelectric projects. Though he did not live to see these dreams realized, Jamsetji's legacy was cemented. His meticulous planning and relentless ambition created the foundation for an empire that would outlast colonial rule, economic upheavals, and generations of leadership changes. But while Jamsetji laid the groundwork, it would be up to his successors to take these ideas from vision to reality. And as the 20th century began, the next generation of Tatas would find themselves at the helm of an empire poised for greatness. By the early 20th century, Jamsetji Tata's grand vision had been set in motion, but it would be his successors who turned bold ideas into industrial realities. At the helm was his son, Sir Dorabji Tata, who inherited more than just a business. He inherited a mission to make India self-sufficient in steel, energy, and education. Dorabji was not merely a custodian of his father's dreams, he was a builder, a risk-taker, and above all, a believer in India's industrial future. His first major endeavor was transforming Tata Steel from a concept into a fully operational industry. It was no small feat. The British were skeptical of an Indian steel company competing with Western firms, and financing such a massive enterprise was a logistical nightmare. Yet, in 1912, against the odds, Tata Steel's first ingot rolled out of the plant in Sakchi, a remote village that would later become Jamshedpur, India's first planned industrial city. The British government, initially dismissive, soon found itself relying on Tata Steel during World War I, when the company supplied thousands of tons of steel for railway tracks, military hardware, and other critical wartime needs. Steel was just the beginning. Under Dorabji's leadership, Tata Power was established, setting the foundation for India's energy infrastructure. The hydroelectric projects in the Western Ghats provided sustainable power long before the term renewable energy entered corporate boardrooms. His leadership also extended to education, where he played a critical role in funding the Indian Institute of Science, a research institution that still ranks among the best in Asia. But with great ambition came great risks. In 1921, Dorabji made the audacious decision to back the expansion of Tata Steel by personally pledging his fortune, including his wife's jewelry, to secure loans that would keep the company afloat during financial difficulties. His gamble paid off, solidifying Tata Steel's place as the backbone of India's industrial sector. While Dorabji was laying the foundation, it was J.R.D. Tata, his cousin and the family's most celebrated business leader, who turned the Tata Group into a true multinational powerhouse. Taking the reins in 1938 at just 34 years old, J.R.D. was a visionary who expanded Tata's footprint across multiple industries, including aviation, chemicals, and hospitality. Under his leadership, Tata Airlines, later rebranded as Air India, took to the skies, becoming India's first commercial airline. Tata Chemicals diversified the group's industrial portfolio, while Tata Motors began producing vehicles that would later become the backbone of India's automotive industry. The Taj Hotels, a project first conceived by Jamsetji, evolved into a global luxury brand under JRD's stewardship. But perhaps JRD's greatest contribution was instilling an ethos of ethical business practices, innovation, and long-term thinking. His belief that money is not the goal, it is the byproduct of good work, became the guiding principle of the Tata Empire. He fostered a corporate culture where employees were treated as stakeholders, introducing progressive labor policies that set Tata apart in an era of ruthless industrial expansion. By the mid-20th century, the Tata Group was no longer just an Indian business. It was a global industrial force. What started as a dream in Jamsetji's mind had become an empire that touched every facet of Indian life, from the roads people traveled to the power that lit their homes. As India stood on the brink of independence, the Tata Group had already built the foundation of a modern nation. But with a new political landscape emerging, the family would soon have to navigate challenges that would test their legacy like never before. By the mid-20th century, the Tata Group had cemented itself as the backbone of India's industrial economy. The family's enterprises had survived 2 world wars, the Great Depression, and the growing pains of an emerging nation. But as India gained independence in 1947, a new challenge emerged, navigating the shifting tides of socialist economic policies, government intervention, and internal corporate power struggles. J.R.D. Tata, the group's visionary leader, had to adapt. The Indian government, led by Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, favoured a socialist model, placing major industries under state control. While many private businesses struggled against this backdrop, Tata remained resilient, largely due to its reputation for ethical practices and its contributions to national development. Yet, government scrutiny intensified. In the 1950s, Air India, a crown jewel of the Tata Empire, was nationalized. J.R.D. Tata, who had personally built the airline, was devastated but remained chairman at the government's request. This was the first major blow to the group, signaling that even the most successful private ventures were not immune to government control. Despite these setbacks, Tata continued to innovate. In 1954, the company launched Tata Chemicals, expanding into fertilizers and industrial chemicals. In 1959, Tata Motors introduced its first indigenous commercial vehicle, setting the stage for the group's dominance in the automotive industry. Yet, internal power struggles loomed. The group's decentralized management structure, which had allowed for rapid expansion, began showing cracks. Differences in vision between family members and professional executives led to tensions. J.R.D. Tata, known for his progressive approach, began pushing for modernization, but not everyone agreed with his strategies. By the 1970s, India's economy was weighed down by restrictive regulations, known as the License Raj. Bureaucratic red tape stifled growth, making it difficult for private companies to expand. Tata, despite its vast resources, struggled to navigate the labyrinth of approvals required for new ventures. The group had to fight legal battles over land acquisitions, labor disputes, and policy roadblocks. Through all this, JRD remained unwavering, believing that long-term thinking would ultimately triumph. But the real turning point came in the 1990s. With India's economic liberalization in 1991, the Tata Group was suddenly free from the constraints that had long hindered its growth. However, this new environment also brought competition from global giants. The group had to evolve quickly or risk being outpaced. A leadership transition was imminent, and the man who would take Tata into the 21st century was waiting in the wings. His name was Ratan Tata, and his leadership would not only redefine the Tata Empire, but also shape the future of Indian industry itself. By the dawn of the 21st century, the Tata Group had not only survived decades of economic shifts, but had positioned itself as India's most influential business conglomerate. Under the leadership of Ratan Tata, the empire expanded its global reach, entering new industries and making high-profile acquisitions that would cement its place in the modern world. Ratan Tata took over as chairman in 1991, just as India embraced economic liberalization. He saw an opportunity where others saw uncertainty. One of his boldest moves came in the early 2000s when Tata Motors acquired the struggling British brands Jaguar and Land Rover from Ford in 2008. Many doubted the wisdom of the purchase, but within a few years, the brands turned profitable, proving the skeptics wrong. Tata Steel also made headlines with its acquisition of Chorus Group in 2007, making it one of the largest steel producers in the world. Tata Consultancy Services became a global leader in information technology, consistently ranking as one of the most valuable technology firms. Beyond business, the Tata family remained deeply committed to philanthropy. Over 66% of Tata Sons is owned by charitable trusts that fund initiatives in education, healthcare, and rural development. From establishing world-class research institutions to funding India's first cancer hospital, the Tata Trusts have ensured that the family's wealth benefits millions beyond their boardrooms. Despite these successes, the 21st century brought new challenges. The removal of Cyrus Mistry as chairman in 2016 exposed rifts within the Tata Group's leadership. The public legal battle that followed raised questions about corporate governance and succession planning within the family-controlled conglomerate. Yet, the brand remained untarnished. In 2017, Natarajan Chandrasekaran, a non-family executive, was appointed chairman, marking a new era of professional leadership. Today, the Tata Group is valued at over $300 billion and continues to dominate industries ranging from steel and automobiles to software and retail. But the biggest question remains: what does the future hold for the Tata dynasty? With no direct heir from the Tata bloodline currently in line to take over, the group's leadership will likely remain in the hands of professionals rather than family members. Yet, the Tata name still carries immense weight, and its commitment to ethical business, philanthropy, and innovation ensures that its legacy will endure for generations. The Tata story is far from over. It is an empire built on vision, resilience, and an unwavering commitment to nation building. And as India continues to rise on the global stage, one thing is certain: the Tata name will always be at the heart of it. If we were to ask you to name the richest non-royal family in Britain, Perhaps you might guess the mighty Grosvenor family, with their multi-billionaire duke and expansive ownership of Mayfair and Chelsea, two of London's most prestigious areas. Or maybe your mind might leap to the Reuben brothers, who have built a vast empire encompassing real estate, technology and private equity, significantly shaping London's skyline. You could even consider the Cadogan family, whose centuries-old legacy includes vast swathes of Chelsea, turning their holdings into some of the capital's most valuable streets. And yet, while those are all fine guesses, the title of the richest private family in Britain would go to none other than the Hinduja family, originally from India. Indeed, the Hindujas are not just a financial powerhouse, but also a fascinating study of international business acumen, having established a vast conglomerate that includes everything from banking and cable television to real estate and healthcare spread across the globe. On the flip side, as Britain's richest private family, they have also courted controversy like it's going out of style, being convicted in Switzerland for exploitation and illegal employment as recently as this year. In today's episode, we'll share their astonishing rags-to-riches saga, from their humble beginnings in India to the pinnacle of wealth on Albion, as we describe the Hindujas, the Indian family that owns Britain. The wealth of the Hinduja family is so expansive that to even picture it sends the mind into chaos, because it's estimated that the family holds a net worth of £37 billion, or roughly $47 billion. To put this into perspective, if the family stacked all of their money in $100 bills, they could reach the outer layers of the Earth's atmosphere. And with a net worth this stupendous, the Hinduja family sits as the richest family in the United Kingdom. Now, the prize jewel in this unfathomable crown of riches is the family's holding in its parent company, the Hinduja Group, a multinational titan of commerce, home to a variety of businesses in every sector. Privately owned, the family enjoys every cent that every business makes, resulting in hefty dividend checks worth more than most individuals' annual earnings. Gopichand Hinduja, a member of the family's second generation, serves as the head of the family and de facto owner of the Hinduja Group. And it is his duty to oversee the direction of the Hinduja Group and grow its portfolio to ever greater extents. Gopichand is further in charge of ensuring the favorable reputation of the Hinduja name, which has been on the wrong side of the news as of late. Yet in 2024, 4 members of the family, Prakash, Kamal, Ajay and Namrata, were convicted for exploitation and illegal employment in Switzerland, after it was found that they were paying their villa staff just $7.84 for an 18-hour workday. Prosecutors further argued that the family had engaged in human trafficking, an allegation which, while later acquitted, has seriously damaged the public perception of the Hinduja family in recent months. Nevertheless, what the family may lack in morals, it more than makes up for in its real estate portfolio, which is, to say the least, expansive. For example, the Hindujas own the infamous Raffles London Hotel, situated at the heart of Whitehall, and a night in a premier suite here will set you back £25,000. For a member of the Hinduja family, however, a mere premier suite is not luxurious enough. No, they much prefer to relax in their £100 million, 4-floor, 25,000 square foot terrace in London, with room enough for some 300 housewarming party guests. And the interior of any Hinduja residence is never without a treasure chest of luxury jewellery and precious stones either. When Swiss authorities detained the aforementioned members of the family, for instance, they seized a platinum necklace, rubies, diamonds, and an assortment of high-end jewellery worth enough to pay off most mortgages. Furthermore, when the British summertime rolls around, the Hindujas enjoy nothing more than spending the day on their private yacht, a 48-metre-long, custom-built work of art that perfectly reflects just how detached this family is from the everyday worries of credit card repayments and paycheck-to-paycheck living. And when business calls louder than pleasure, the Hindujas drop their martinis and head to the airfield to hop on their private jet. Leather seats, room to recline, and a private flight crew ensure that every minute in the sky is enjoyed in the utmost comfort. With its £3 million price tag, it's a luxury that only a family as successful as the Hindujas could indulge in. The luxury life enjoyed by the Hindujas does, however, raise an important question. How did they become so affluent in the first place? Well, the answer to this question lies in early 20th century India. Now, the name Hinduja is of Sanskrit origin, though records do not exist of when it was first used. What we do know is that the name is a mix of Hindustan, a term relating to India, and Jaha, which means things belong to. And thus, the name Hinduja is habitational, directly translating to things related to Hindustan. But it is in undivided India, Shikapa to be precise, where the early protagonist of our story, Parmanand Deepchand Hinduja, was born in 1901. And Parmanand Deepchand's early life, as is the case with so many entrepreneurs, was not full of the luxuries of the 1%. Rather, it was plagued by financial challenge and struggle. Parmanand, however, was not deterred by the unfortunate geopolitical hand he was dealt. He was much more interested in what he could earn. And this problem-solving mindset was put to use very early on in Parmanand Deepchand's career. In fact, in 1914, when he was just 13 years old, Parmanand Deepchand would travel to India's financial capital, Bombay, to learn the ways of commerce. During this year, he formed the Hinduja Group, laying the groundwork for his entrepreneurial endeavors and marking a key turning point in the future trajectory of the Hinduja name. In Bombay, Parmanand Deepchand found a love for both merchant banking and commercial trade, which became the core dealings of the Hinduja Group. Parmanand consequently experienced increasing success over the next 5 years, prompting him to relocate his headquarters to Iran in 1919. And this relocation to new soil proved extremely fruitful for Parmanand Deepchand. For over the next decade, he built strong trading relationships in Iran and Persia, developing a reputation of trustworthiness and reliability. With this modest financial success, Parmanand Deepchand could turn his attention to marriage and securing the family line through children. Parmanand Deepchand began the expansion of his family by marrying a woman named Jamuna Parmanand Hinduja in the early 20th century, and the couple would go on to have 5 children. The first child, Girdhar, was born in 1930, and as the firstborn son, he became the first in line to inherit the Hinduja Group, even marrying a woman named Lalita in order to solidify the next generation before his father's passing. However, Girdhar tragically passed away in 1963, leaving Parmanand Deepchand's second son, Shrishant Parmanand, in a position to take over the empire. Srichand Parmanand, or SP, was born in 1935, at a point where the Hinduja Group was expanding rapidly. At this period, Parmanand Deepchand had a sizable personal wealth and lived a life of comfort that as a child he could only dream of. As a result, he was adamant about giving his children an education, which he was never able to experience. Thus, he sent SP to Darvaz College of Commerce in Mumbai at an early age. He later studied at RD National College. At the age of 18, SP joined the family business, working on the ground floor of a textile shop, and he would later go on to sell onions and potatoes, as well as iron ore in India, and grew a passion for international trade. Now, during his first few years at the Hinduja Group, SP also showed astute business acumen and always supplied his father with plans for business growth. This principal vision would prove pivotal in the future growth of the family empire. Then, Gopichand, the third son of Parmanand Deepchand, was born in 1940. Like SP, Gopichand's education was prioritized over his involvement in the business as a child, and he spent the majority of his adolescence at Jai Hind College in Bombay. After earning his doctorate in law, Gopichand joined his brother at the textile shop. While working together, the two brothers developed a deep bond, both from a business and personal perspective, and discussed plans for how they would run the family empire upon their father's retirement. Then, Parmanand Deepchand's fourth son was born in 1945. He followed in the footsteps of his brothers, earning a degree in law and economics before joining the family business, quickly adding plans to expand the Hinduja empire far beyond the realms of national borders. And Parmanand Deepchand's last child, Ashok Hinduja, was born in 1950. But it was during this period that Patriarch Parmanand was reaching the end of his reign as patriarch of the family empire, and was beginning to explore more philanthropic ventures. For instance, in 1951, the Hinduja Group helped to set up an outdoor clinic to help provide care to the area's refugees. And this philanthropic outlook certainly affected Ashok in his later career, who placed more emphasis on giving rather than receiving in comparison to his brothers. Like his siblings, Ashok was required to obtain a doctorate in law and economics before entering the family business. He, however, ascended to a more senior position after graduating, helping to oversee the company's affairs on Indian soil. Therefore, by the late 1950s, Parmanand Deepchand had a well-established second generation to take over the family empire and grow it to new heights. S.P. Hinduja would assume the role of patriarch of the Hinduja family upon the death of Parmanand Deepchand in 1971. And with his newfound power, he wanted to do one thing: expand. You see, SP had felt that his father was far too modest a businessman and hadn't adequately explored the financial metropolis of the European market, thereby leaving great profits on the table. Therefore, in 1973, SP founded Hinduja Global Solutions Limited, an outsourcing company devoted to exploring the international market. This subsidiary enjoyed excellent success, which reinforced SP's vision to expand internationally. In fact, SP became so committed to the international market that in 1979 he made the decision to move the Hinduja Group's headquarters from Iran to Europe. This decision, motivated in part by the ever-complex political landscape in Iran, proved pivotal to the continued growth of the Hinduja Group. Understand, with the European market at its fingertips, the Hinduja family was no longer limited to trade and merchant banking. No, now the sectors of technology, media, communications and chemical development were available. And with the support of his brothers, SP Hinduja welcomed these newfound commercial opportunities with open arms. The division of labor was simple. SP would oversee the Hinduja Group holistically, dictating its most important, needle-moving decisions. Prakash would chair the company's European efforts and Ashok its Indian efforts. Finally, Gopichand would control the Hinduja Group's most significant subsidiaries and act as heir to the empire. With this plan in place, the Hindujas set the wheels in motion. The media sector was explored first, with the creation of Next Digital in 1985. This company sought to reinvent the digital landscape in 20th century India, which was, at the time, both fragmented and lagging behind the rest of the world. The company's dominion over the Indian banking sector was reinforced next, with the creation of inaugurated IndusInd Bank Limited in 1994. This bank would pave the way for a new generation of private banks in India, helping its economy to flourish. Then in 2007, the Hinduja Group bought a controlling share of Ashok Leyland, an automotive manufacturer that the company had initially founded in 1948, but later sold for a cash injection. To this day, Ashok Leyland remains a vital component of the Hinduja Group's holdings. In 2008, SP added Gulf Oil Lubricants to the family's business portfolio. With this company, the Hindujas were able to bring their innate disposition for innovation and development to the commodity chemicals sector. Even today, the company produces a number of leading chemical lubricants and is regarded as one of the best chemical manufacturers worldwide. Rapid expansion only continued in subsequent years, as the Hindujas put their name on the door of a number of leading companies in a diverse range of industries. Hinduja Foundries, Hinduja Global Solutions, Hinduja National Power, Hinduja Renewables, Hinduja Realty Ventures, just to name a few. And by the turn of the 21st century, the Hindujas were renowned as one of the richest families in the world. The second generation had taken their father's company from a modest enterprise to a multinational commercial titan. Furthermore, they each had multi-billion-dollar net worths and had etched the Hinduja legacy into the very fabric of the universe. And throughout the 2010s, these efforts were recognized in the business community. For instance, in 2015, the Hindujas received the Business Leader of the Year award at the Asian Awards. 4 years later, one of the Hinduja Group's holdings, One OTT Entertainment Limited, was awarded the annual Innovation Leaders Award by Telecom. Such prestigious accolades only added to the family's expansive business prestige. However, the second generation of the Hinduja family was not perfect. And though they helped to grow the Hinduja empire to previously unforeseen heights, they also sought to muddy the reputation of the family name. Notably, in 1986, the Hinduja brothers were investigated for alleged connections regarding the Bofors case, a white-collar scandal in which Bofors, a Swedish arms manufacturer, was accused of paying illegal bribes to top government officials in order to sell $1.3 billion worth of weaponry to the Indian government. The brothers were later acquitted of these allegations in 2005, yet by this point, the damage to the Hinduja name had already been done, and public perception of the family had started to decline. Subsequently, in 2001, the Hinduja brothers became embroiled in a British government scandal which would later be dubbed the Hinduja affair. In this scandal, the Hindujas were accused of masking a bribe of $1 million to government officials as a charitable donation in order to be granted a United Kingdom passport. Again, the brothers were later deemed innocent, but their involvement in another high-level scandal could not be put down to mere chance for many. A third major scandal took place in 2005, in which Ashok Leyland, the Hinduja Group's automotive titan, agreed to supply 100 army vehicles to the Sudanese Defense Ministry. This announcement would have been innocent enough had it not been for the fact that many of the company's directors were residents of the United Kingdom, a factual matrix which conflicted with the country's arms export legislation. Again, the Hinduja brothers faced no quantitative repercussions from this accusation. However, it did act to contradict the family's ethos of clean legal business dealings. And finally, as recently as 2024, members of the Hinduja family have, as previously outlined, been involved in a rather serious human trafficking trial, with 4 members set to go to prison for 4 years for the exploitation of workers. Nevertheless, despite their numerous controversies, the second-generation Hinduja brothers' legacy is one of unparalleled wealth accumulation. They took their father's modest enterprise and scaled it to monumental global heights, becoming the richest family in Britain in the process. But with the death of SP Hinduja in May of 2023, the reins of the Hinduja empire now rest in the hands of Gopichand Hinduja. At 84 years of age, it's safe to say that Gopichand's rule over the Hinduja dominion will not be as long as his late brothers. However, in spite of his age, Gopichand has significantly impacted the future direction of the Hinduja group. Aware of the pressure for multinational commercial titans like the Hinduja group to be more environmentally friendly, Gopichand has steered the family empire towards a more sustainable business model. And Gopichand's sons have further helped this move toward a green future. For instance, Sanjay Hinduja, who became chairman of Gulf Oil in 2005, made a significant leap forward in the company's development in 2021 with the launch of Gulf Oil's first electric vehicle fluids range, marking a genuine commitment to a sustainable future. In the same year, the company began to invest in electric vehicle charging technology. Furthermore, Ashok Hinduja's son, Shom, has assumed the role of President of Alternative Energy and Sustainability at the Hinduja Group. He has set clear goals for the Hinduja Group to explore the possibilities of alternative energy, which will likely become a key sector in the company's portfolio in years to come. The family's third generation has likewise placed a greater emphasis on philanthropic ventures, something which first patriarch Parmanan Deepchand cared heavily about but was somewhat lost under SP's reign. SP's daughter, for instance, is currently serving on the board of management for the family's medical research center in Mumbai. With this newfound outlook, the third generation is already trying to restore the public perception of the Hinduja name, and once more instill the values that Parmanan Deepchand championed during his time as the family patriarch. When your house requires 600 staff members, your family finances exceed the GDP of entire nations, and your business decisions can shake the world's largest democracy, ordinary measures of wealth become meaningless. Meet Asia's richest family, the Ambanis of India, whose 27-story Mumbai residence ranks as the world's most expensive private home after Buckingham Palace. With 3 helipads, a 168-car garage, and even a dedicated snow room, Antillia stands as the perfect symbol of a family whose influence extends far beyond mere billions. But their true power isn't found in helipads or snow rooms. It's in how 3 generations transformed a small textile trading business into an empire that controls nearly 10% of India's economy. Therefore, in today's episode of Old Money Luxury, we'll unlock the doors to their extraordinary world and discover how one family's ambition reshaped the destiny of more than 1 billion people, as we describe the Ambanis, the $118 billion family that owns India. In the glittering pantheon of global billionaires, few families command the sheer magnitude of wealth and influence wielded by the Ambanis. With a staggering net worth of $118 billion as of January 2025, this Indian dynasty controls a fortune that exceeds the entire GDP of nations like Nepal and Sri Lanka combined. From their primary residence, Antillia, a towering monument to wealth that ranks as the world's second most expensive residence after Buckingham Palace, the Ambani family oversees an empire that accounts for nearly 10% of India's GDP. This 27-story vertical palace, valued at over $2 billion, boasts amenities that would make medieval Maharajas blush. 3 helipads, a 168-car garage, multiple swimming pools, and even a dedicated snow room for escaping Mumbai's tropical heat. Yet Antillia represents merely the tip of their golden iceberg. The family's global real estate portfolio includes an $80 million beach villa on Dubai's Palm Jumeirah Island, complete with a private 70-meter beach and a $98 million stake in New York's Mandarin Oriental Hotel. Their 2021 acquisition of Stoke Park, a prestigious golf and country club in Buckinghamshire, for $73 million, added another jewel to their crown. Mukesh Ambani, the family patriarch and chairman of Reliance Industries Limited, maintains controlling interest in India's most valuable company. Their 50.33% stake in RIL generates a dividend stream that would make a small nation's treasury envious. Under his leadership, the conglomerate has expanded far beyond its petrochemical roots into telecommunications, retail, and digital services. The family's taste for luxury extends to their personal collections. Their fleet of automobiles includes everything from Range Rover Vogues to vintage Mercedes, while their jewelry collection features pieces that defy comprehension, like the 450 crore rupee diamond necklace gifted to Shloka Mehta, wife of Akash Ambani, by her mother-in-law Neeta. Yet unlike many of Asia's wealthy families who maintain low profiles, the Ambanis embrace their position at the apex of Indian society. Their business dealings and personal lives command headlines across the subcontinent. Their marriages become national celebrations, and their business moves send ripples through global markets. But to truly understand how this family rose from modest textile traders to become Asia's wealthiest dynasty, we must journey back to the bustling streets of Yemen, where a young man named Dhirubhai Ambani was about to begin a journey that would transform not just his family's fortunes, but the entire Indian economy. In the sweltering port city of Aden, Yemen, during the late 1940s, a young Indian clerk named Dhirubhai Ambani worked diligently at Ambani & Co., mastering the intricacies of international trade. Born in 1932 to a humble schoolteacher in the small village of Chorwad, Gujarat, Dhirubhai had left India at the age of 16, driven by an ambition that far exceeded his modest origins. The Ambani family name, derived from the word Amban, meaning headman of a village, carried little weight outside their small community in Gujarat. Dhirubhai's father, Hirachand Ambani, worked as a village schoolteacher, supporting his wife Jamunaben and their 5 children. Despite their financial constraints, the family emphasized education and entrepreneurial thinking. In Aden, then one of the world's busiest ports, young Dhirubhai absorbed crucial lessons about international trade. Working at Ambani & Co., he learned the intricacies of the petroleum and commodity trading business and most importantly, the art of identifying market opportunities. His years in Aden provided invaluable insights into global commerce that would later prove crucial to his success. During his decade in Yemen, Dhirubhai developed what would become his signature trait, an uncanny ability to spot arbitrage opportunities in highly regulated markets. He studied how different currencies traded, how import-export regulations could be navigated, and how relationships with bureaucrats could facilitate business operations. These lessons, learned in the bustling trading hub of Aden, would later help him navigate India's notorious License Raj era. It was in Aden that Dhirubhai married Kokilaban in 1955, and their first child, Mukesh, was born there in 1957. After spending exactly 10 years in Yemen, Dhirubhai returned to India in 1958 with savings of 50,000 rupees. He chose Mumbai, then Bombay, as his base of operations, recognizing the city's position as India's commercial capital and its potential for an ambitious entrepreneur. Setting up home in a two-bedroom apartment at the Jai Hind estate in Bhuleshwar, one of Mumbai's crowded commercial districts, Dhirubhai began trading spices and yarn. The family adapted to life in Mumbai, while Dhirubhai worked tirelessly to establish his first business connections in the city's textile markets. This period shaped what would become the core Ambani family values: frugality despite success, the importance of thinking big despite humble beginnings, and an unwavering focus on identifying and seizing market opportunities. Dhirubhai's early struggles also instilled in him a deep understanding of India's masses, an insight that would later help him revolutionize the country's equity culture. As the 1960s dawned, Dhirubhai prepared to make his first significant business move in India's textile industry. The skills he had honed in Aden, combined with his intimate understanding of Indian markets, were about to transform a small trading operation into what would become one of the world's largest business empires, though few could have predicted just how dramatically this former clerk would reshape Indian capitalism. In 1958, Dhirubhai Ambani established Reliance Commercial Corporation at Narsinatha Street in Masjid Bunder, Mumbai. Starting as a small trading enterprise, the company initially focused on importing polyester yarn and exporting spices. This modest beginning laid the foundation for what would become one of India's largest business empires. The company's first major leap into manufacturing came in 1966 with the launch of the Vimal fabric brand. Named after his elder brother Ramnikbhai's son, the brand revolutionized Indian textile retail. Dhirubhai's marketing genius showed in his decision to position Vimal as a premium brand while keeping it accessible to the masses. The brand's advertising campaigns became deeply embedded in Indian popular culture. However, Dhirubhai's most significant innovation wasn't in manufacturing or marketing, it was in finance. In 1977, Reliance held its initial public offering, a move that would transform Indian capital markets forever. Breaking from tradition, Dhirubhai actively courted small investors, conducting shareholder meetings in stadiums to accommodate thousands of attendees. This democratization of corporate ownership earned him a devoted following among India's middle class. Throughout the 1970s and early 1980s, Reliance expanded aggressively, often pushing the boundaries of India's complex regulatory framework. Dhirubhai's ability to navigate the License Raj, India's notorious system of permits and quotas, became legendary. Critics accused him of manipulating the system, but supporters saw a visionary who understood that rapid industrialization required creative solutions in a restrictive economic environment. As the 1980s progressed, Reliance made a crucial strategic move by entering the petrochemicals industry. This backward integration strengthened the company's position in textiles while laying the groundwork for future expansion into other petrochemical products. The move demonstrated Dhirubhai's ability to think strategically and build for the long term. By the mid-1980s, Reliance had become one of India's most valuable companies, but controversy followed its success. The company's rapid rise and Dhirubhai's political connections drew scrutiny from the press and competitors. Yet he remained focused on expansion, seemingly becoming more determined with each challenge to prove his critics wrong through achievement rather than argument. In 1991-92, as India stood on the brink of major economic reforms, Reliance opened its petrochemical plant in Hazira, marking another milestone in the company's vertical integration strategy. This bold move, made during a period of economic uncertainty, showcased Dhirubhai's confidence in India's economic potential and his company's ability to capitalize on it. This period of growth and controversy shaped Reliance's corporate DNA, establishing patterns of aggressive expansion, vertical integration, and mass market focus that would define the company's future strategy. As India prepared to unshackle its economy from decades of socialist planning, Reliance stood ready to seize the opportunities that liberalization would bring. The 1990s marked a period of unprecedented expansion for Reliance Industries under Dhirubhai's leadership, as India's economic liberalization created new opportunities. The company launched Reliance Petroleum Limited in 1991, culminating in the construction of the Jamnagar refinery in Gujarat, a facility with an initial capacity of 668,000 barrels per day, making it one of the world's largest refineries at the time. During this decade, Dhirubhai's sons, Mukesh and Anil, played increasingly prominent roles in the company's operations. Mukesh, who had left his MBA studies at Stanford to join the family business, oversaw the construction of the Jamnagar refinery, while Anil, with an MBA from Wharton, managed the company's financial operations and public relations. The trajectory of the company had been complicated by Dhirubhai's stroke in 1986, which significantly impacted his ability to maintain direct control. Though he continued to guide the company until his death in 2002, questions about succession loomed large. After his passing, the brothers attempted to run Reliance together, with their mother, Kokilaban, serving as a stabilizing influence. This cooperative arrangement quickly showed signs of strain. By November 2004, the simmering tensions burst into public view when Mukesh acknowledged having differences with his brother in a televised interview. The dispute erupted into a full-blown corporate war that became front-page news across India, with daily revelations of accusations and counter-accusations threatening the stability of both the company and the country's stock market. The family matriarch, Kokilaban, eventually stepped in to broker a settlement. The resulting division in 2006 split the Reliance empire. Mukesh retained control of Reliance Industries, including the petrochemicals, oil and gas, and textiles businesses, while Anil received the telecommunications, power generation, financial services, entertainment, and construction operations through the newly formed Reliance Anil Dhirubhai Ambani Group. The split marked more than just a division of assets. It represented a divergence in business philosophies. Mukesh focused on building integrated, capital-intensive industrial projects, while Anil pursued a more diversified portfolio across service sectors. This fundamental difference in approach would prove crucial in the years ahead. The aftermath of the split revealed stark contrasts in the brothers' fortunes. While Mukesh's Reliance Industries continued its upward trajectory, expanding its petrochemical operations and venturing into new territories, Anil's companies began facing mounting challenges and financial difficulties. The division of Reliance marked the end of an era, the last chapter in Dhirubhai's rags to riches story. Yet it also represented the beginning of a new phase in the Ambani saga, as Mukesh emerged as the heir to his father's legacy of industrial innovation and market dominance. The stage was set for an even more dramatic transformation of Reliance Industries, though in a direction few could have predicted at the time. In 2023, as Mukesh Ambani unveiled his succession plan, the focus shifted to his three children, Akash, Isha, and Anant, who represent the third generation of this remarkable dynasty. Learning from the past conflicts that divided the family, Mukesh has carefully structured the leadership transition to maintain the conglomerate's unity while allowing each child to develop their own sphere of influence. Each heir has been positioned to lead distinct verticals within the Reliance empire. Akash has taken charge of the telecommunications division through Reliance Jio, steering the company's digital transformation initiatives. Isha focuses on the retail segment, overseeing the expansion of Reliance's consumer-facing businesses and partnerships with global brands. Meanwhile, Anant has been entrusted with the group's ambitious new energy business, representing Reliance's commitment to sustainable development. This careful distribution of responsibilities reflects lessons learned from the previous generation's struggles. Rather than foster competition, the structure encourages collaboration and shared growth. The next generation brings fresh perspectives to traditional businesses while pushing into new territories like renewable energy and digital services. Their entry into leadership coincides with India's emergence as a global economic powerhouse. The challenges they face differ greatly from those of their grandfathers' era, transitioning from fossil fuels to renewable energy, adapting to rapidly evolving digital technologies, and maintaining Reliance's competitive edge in an increasingly global marketplace. The siblings' influence on Reliance's direction is already evident. Jio continues to expand its digital ecosystem under Akash's guidance, while the retail division grows its footprint across India. Anant's focus on green energy initiatives signals Reliance's commitment to environmental sustainability. However, the true test of this succession plan lies ahead. While Mukesh maintains his position as chairman, the siblings must prove they can work together effectively once he steps back. Their success or failure in maintaining family unity while driving innovation will likely influence how other Indian family businesses approach succession planning. The expansion of the Ambani family continues, with the next generation beginning to emerge. As these young heirs grow, they will inherit a business empire vastly different from the textile trading company their great-grandfather founded, one that spans telecommunications, retail, energy, and digital services. As Reliance Industries continues its evolution from an industrial heavyweight into a technology-driven conglomerate, the future of India's most valuable company rests in the hands of these young leaders. Their ability to balance tradition with innovation while maintaining family cohesion will determine whether the Ambani dynasty can extend its remarkable journey into the next generation. Our story begins on the 22nd of June 2004, where history is about to witness the most expensive wedding ever recorded. As twilight embraces the opulent Palace of Versailles, the grand gates of this iconic stronghold of European royalty, once reserved for kings and queens, first yield to an engagement ceremony, ripe with centuries of regal allure. As day turned to night, guests were ushered to the acclaimed Jardin des Tuileries, a historic stage once graced by Napoleon Bonaparte's imperial displays and grand military parades. Under Napoleon's reign, the Tuileries had evolved into a symbol of European power and opulence, but tonight, this Napoleonic monument played host to Indian chefs, flown in from all over the world, conjuring a feast of extraordinary splendor as a tribute to the bride and groom. Yet this was merely the beginning of a nearly week-long celebration of unmatched luxury. Over 6 dazzling days, around 1,500 illustrious attendees from myriad fields congregated to bask in the wedding's glow. Just the entertainment alone was a constellation of stars. Kylie Minogue illuminated the stage for half an hour at a price of £200,000, while Bollywood royalty Shah Rukh Khan and Aishwarya Rai Bachchan graced the festivities with their presence. Adding a uniquely personal touch, Javed Akhtar's specially penned play was performed by the wedding's host family themselves, weaving an intimate layer into the grandeur. But the crowning moment occurred at the 17th century chateau of Vaux-le-Vicomte, where its baroque elegance hosted a traditional Indian mandap constructed by master artisans from India. The gardens were transformed into a fantasy realm of life-sized fiberglass elephants and opulent pink drapery. And the groom's arrival on horseback, along with the bride's fairy tale carriage ride, were followed by a lavish banquet and a breathtaking fireworks display launched from the Eiffel Tower. For the Mittal family, led by the legendary steel tycoon Lakshmi Mittal, this was not merely a wedding, but a resplendent proclamation of their legacy, a mesmerizing fusion of traditional Indian opulence with Western grandeur, setting a new zenith for extravagance. In today's episode, we'll explain exactly how the Mittal family of India could not only take over the European steel industry with such finesse, but how they could do it in a style that rivaled the most legendary European royalty, as we describe. The Mittals, the Indian family who own Europe's steel industry. The Mittal family's fortune is so colossal, it's practically a Bollywood blockbuster of modern finance. Imagine a net worth of 14 billion Great British pounds, or around 18 billion US dollars. And that's just the opening scene. You see, the centerpiece of their empire is ArcelorMittal, a steel conglomerate that dwarfs most competitors. In fact, it's the world's second largest steelmaker, and by far the largest in Europe. Valued at 72 billion pounds, or $94 billion for you Yanks, it's the heavyweight champ of steelmaking outside of China, and the Mittals own a 38% slice of this mammoth. But steel isn't their only game. The family also holds a 41% stake in Aperam, another industrial heavyweight, because when you're in the Mittal family, it's clear that success comes in sprawling, ambitious packages. Now, onto the real estate, a domain where the Mittals' taste is as grand as their bank accounts. Lakshmi Mittal, the reigning family patriarch, boasts a property portfolio that's valued at over £400 million, and his London residence in Kensington is nothing short of a masterpiece of luxury living. This 12-bedroom marvel features Turkish baths, an indoor pool, and marble imported from the same quarry that supplied the Taj Mahal. So Versailles isn't the only palace this iconic family likes to poach their prestige from. And let's not forget Aditya Mittal, the heir apparent and CEO of ArcelorMittal. He calls an 11-bedroom mansion on Bishop's Avenue home. Purchased for a staggering £117 million in 2008, this property sits comfortably on London's Billionaires' Row, surrounded by some of the city's most exclusive addresses. But the Mittals' real estate empire stretches far beyond London. Lakshmi also owns a £20 million colonial bungalow in New Delhi, because when you have this level of wealth, one grand residence per continent is merely a starting point. Now let's talk cars. Lakshmi Mittal's collection is nothing short of impressive, having amassed nearly 20 vehicles, one for nearly every day of the month. His fleet includes a Porsche Boxster for those moments when speed and style are essential, and a Mercedes-Benz C-Class for understated luxury. It's not just a car collection, it's a rolling statement of success. But why stop at cars when you can have an RV that's the envy of even the most extravagant road trippers? The Mittals' RV, known as the Palace on Wheels, is a marvel of mobile luxury. With a bedroom, living room, fully functioning bathroom and even a garage, it's more opulent than most people's homes. And when it comes to nautical adventures, the Mittal family has a 360-foot yacht that costs a cool £200 million, and running it costs an additional $15 million annually. Furthermore, for those who think a private jet is merely an indulgence, consider the Mittals' Gulfstream G550. This airborne luxury liner ensures they travel the world in style, free from the hassles of commercial flying. No lines, no waits, just seamless, opulent travel. All this raises a tantalizing question. How did the Mittal family amass such a staggering fortune? To uncover the origins of their immense wealth, we need to turn our gaze to the vibrant subcontinent of India. To grasp how the steel behemoth that is the Mittal family first emerged, let's rewind to their origins and the story behind their illustrious name. The name Mittal, unmistakably rooted in Indian soil, hails from the north-central region and Punjab, areas known for their sharp business instincts and trading finesse. And historically, Punjab and Rajasthan have been hubs of commerce, churning out influential business figures who have molded not only India's economic landscape, but also cast a significant shadow beyond its borders. The Mittal surname thus likely finds its roots in the Sanskrit word mitra, translating to friend or ally, a fitting moniker for a family that has forged robust business alliances and left an unforgettable mark on the steel industry. Now, the Mittals are part of the Marwari community, originating from the Marwar region of Rajasthan. Marwaris have long been celebrated for their business prowess and entrepreneurial spirit, and their impact on India's economy is substantial, with Marwari businessmen commanding up to a quarter of the economic activity during their peak in the 1990s. This success is said to be attributed to their cohesive social networks, financial acumen, and a readiness to explore business prospects beyond their traditional homelands. In that spirit, Lakshmi Mittal was born in Sadalpur, a town in the Shekhawati region, on the 15th of June 1950, and this was a transformative era for India, freshly independent and diving headlong into rapid industrialization. Sadalpur, like many regions, was adjusting to the shifting economic landscape, a time when traditional business communities, including the Marwaris, began to explore new opportunities outside their traditional territories. Then, later in the 1950s, the Mittal family made a strategic move from Sadalpur to Kolkata, formerly Calcutta, the pulsating capital of West Bengal. At the time, Kolkata was a hive of commercial activity and offered numerous prospects for ambitious entrepreneurs, and it was in this dynamic city that Lakshmi's father, Mohanlal Mittal, set up a steel mill. Indeed, it was a move that proved to be forward-thinking, as India's burgeoning economy required substantial steel supplies for infrastructure and industrial growth. Now young Lakshmi threw himself into the family business, balancing his role at the mill with his education. And this combination provided him with invaluable hands-on experience in steel production, while also solidifying his theoretical understanding of commerce. Lakshmi Mittal's academic path then took him to St. Xavier's College in Kolkata, renowned for its rigorous standards and prestigious reputation. Pursuing a Bachelor of Commerce degree, he excelled, graduating with first-class honours in 1970, an achievement that would pave the way for his future successes in the business arena. Therefore, Mittal's early years seemed conventional. He went to college, supported his father in the family business, and never faced severe financial hardship. However, the trajectory that followed would catapult him to extraordinary heights, far surpassing the dreams he might have harbored as a child. Now, Lakshmi Mittal's entry into the commercial steel arena might have seemed like a scene from a classic underdog story, but with a plot twist. In 1976, he set up shop in Sidoarjo, Indonesia, launching Ispat International, a venture sparked by restrictive steel quotas in India that threatened to stifle his aspirations. And at 26, Mittal was a fresh-faced entrepreneur, holding the bare bones of experience compared to the industry's veterans. Yet, armed with insights from his father's mill and a business degree, he dove headfirst into the venture. Now, from the get-go, Ispat International was far from a cash cow. It took several grueling months to turn a profit, but Mittal's inventive strategies, including cutting production costs while ramping up output, began to pay off. With his first success under his belt, Mittal's sights shifted to acquisitions, and his formula was straightforward. Acquire underperforming plants, revamp them, and use the newfound profits to fuel further expansion. The first big win came in 1989 with the acquisition of a struggling state-owned steel plant in Trinidad and Tobago. While the plant was deep in the red, Mittal saw it as a bargain opportunity. True to form, he overhauled its operations, slashing costs and improving efficiency until the plant was on solid ground. Rolling forward, the 90s saw Mittal's strategy expand as he scooped up plants in Mumbai, Nagpur, and Pune, along with international sites in Mexico, Canada, Kazakhstan, Germany, France, Romania, and South Africa. Then came 1995's dramatic acquisition, a steel plant in Cork, Ireland. Here, Mittal's mission was clear: to turn the beleaguered plant into a profitable entity. Unfortunately, this chapter did not unfold as planned. By 2001, the Cork plant was shuttered, leaving over 400 workers jobless. However, this was but a minor setback in Mittal's broader rise to power. As the new millennium dawned, Mittal's empire was flourishing beyond anyone's wildest dreams. Still, Mittal's appetite for growth was insatiable. The pivotal moment that took the Mittal family from just plain rich to wealthy came in 2004 when Ispat International merged with L&M Holdings, marking the birth of Mittal Steel. This consolidation only increased Mittal's manufacturing footprint, but the real game changer was yet to come. In 2006, Mittal seized the opportunity to acquire Arcelor, then the world's largest steel producer by turnover. Despite Arcelor's initial rejection and a prolonged standoff with Luxembourg's government, Mittal's relentless pursuit led to a hostile takeover, and the merger was eventually sanctioned. Thus, ArcelorMittal was born. And under Mittal's leadership, ArcelorMittal expanded aggressively. In 2011, it took control of the Baffinland iron ore mine in Canada, securing critical raw materials. The following year, an impressive £600 million automotive steel plant in China bolstered the company's steel production and share value. By 2018, ArcelorMittal clinched a major victory with the acquisition of Essar Steel, a giant in the Indian market, further cementing its dominant position. Today, ArcelorMittal stands as the largest steel producer outside China, churning out over 58 million tons of steel annually. Yet the Mittal family's name has been marred by a series of ethical lapses that have pushed their public reputation into troubled waters. Despite their high-profile status, controversies have become a recurring theme, casting a long shadow over their corporate empire. For a start, take the revelations between 2004 and 2010, when over 100 workers perished in Mittal's Kazakhstan mines. This grim statistic sparked a debate about safety standards and whether the Mittals genuinely care about their workforce. Workers from these mines have alleged that conditions were so dire they resembled modern-day slavery. Although these accusations have largely been brushed aside, they've fueled criticism and tarnished the Mittal's public image further. And, in a twist of political intrigue, Mittal's dealings have also landed him in scandalous waters. In 2002, then Prime Minister Tony Blair sent a letter to the Romanian government, advocating for Mittal's acquisition of Romania's state-owned steel assets. This gesture of support raised eyebrows, especially when it was revealed that Mittal had donated £125,000 to Blair's Labour Party the previous year. What initially appeared as a straightforward contribution began to look like a calculated manoeuvre to secure business advantages under questionable pretenses. Additionally, the timing was particularly sensitive as Mittal Steel was aggressively competing against the UK steel industry, leading to significant job losses in a sector Blair had promised to protect. Most recently, Mittal has faced scrutiny over his company's involvement in the Ukraine conflict. Reports indicate that since the war began, ArcelorMittal has ramped up its importation of Russian crude oil. The conflict has driven down oil prices from Russia, allowing Mittal to cut costs and boost profits. However, the optics of such a strategy, especially during an ongoing conflict, have painted the family in a less than flattering light. Yet, there is little doubt that this family's business acumen and financial skill is something to be glanced upon with curious eyes, and there's much to learn. In the next chapter, we'll dive into what the next generation of Mittal family members are up to with regard to keeping the legacy going. At 74, Lakshmi Mittal is orchestrating the final act of his public saga, gradually passing the baton of his steel empire to the next generation. And while he remains at the helm as executive chairman, his wife Usha and their children are stepping into prominent roles. Additionally, his wife played a key role in establishing the Usha Mittal Institute of Technology in Mumbai, aside from championing various philanthropic initiatives. This all-women's university has disrupted the status quo of women's education in India, annually enrolling about 50,000 students. Thus, the institute is reshaping educational prospects for women, opening doors that had long remained closed. Now, Aditya Mittal, Lakshmi's eldest and heir apparent, was born on the 22nd of January 1976. Raised in the steel-centric family with a global perspective, his early years in India and Indonesia led him to Jakarta International School and then to the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School, where he earned a degree in economics in 1996. And his initial career foray at Credit Suisse First Boston Bank, though promising, was short-lived. Therefore, by 1997, he had joined Mittal Steel, the family business, and made an immediate impact in the mergers and acquisitions department. By 1999, he was leading the department, instrumental in the company's ambitious growth strategy. But the crowning achievement of Aditya's career came in 2006 with the transformative merger of Mittal Steel and Arcelor, creating ArcelorMittal. Certainly, this deal was a game changer for the global steel industry, significantly boosting the company's market influence, and Aditya's role in this merger highlighted his strategic prowess and cemented his reputation as a heavyweight in the industry. His philanthropic efforts are notable as well. In 2008, Aditya and his wife Megha Mittal made headlines with a £15 million donation to Great Ormond Street Hospital. And this substantial contribution funded the Mittal Children's Medical Centre, inaugurated by the Duchess of Cambridge in 2018, marking one of the hospital's largest private donations. Aditya and Megha, the former owner of German fashion brand Escada, reside in London with their 3 children, and his sister, Vanisha Mittal Bhatia, also plays a significant role in the family's business empire. She was born in August 1980, and after obtaining a Bachelor of Sciences from the European Business School in London, she began her journey in the family business in 2004. Initially joining the board of L&M Holdings, Vanisha transitioned to the board of Metal Steel post-merger, where she has been pivotal in several strategic decisions, including the development of the Total Cost of Ownership program. Currently, Vanisha serves as Chief Strategy Officer at Apram, and her strategic acumen has significantly propelled Apram's growth, underlining her ability to lead and innovate within the steel sector. Therefore, in the evolving landscape of the metal empire, Vanisha's role continues to be integral. Working alongside Aditya, she plays a crucial role in navigating the future of the metal business, contributing significantly to its ongoing success and expansion. Furthermore, Vanisha's personal life, especially her 2004 wedding to British Indian businessman Amit Bhatia, described at the beginning of this video, remains a noteworthy highlight. Thus, this family's story is a dramatic contrast between unparalleled fortune and opulence and persistent controversy over worker treatment. Their business brilliance and extravagant lifestyle shine brightly, yet there may be some darker aspects the family will have to grapple with in the future. South Africa. Simultaneously one of the world's most beautiful and most troubled countries. Indeed, in the lifetime of many of us, we have seen it transform from an apartheid state into the rainbow nation that Nelson Mandela dreamed of building. But while the world celebrated this remarkable transition to democracy in the early 1990s, 3 brothers from a dusty town in northern India saw something entirely different: an opportunity to gain power. Where others witnessed the birth of freedom, the Gupta brothers, Ajay, Atul, and Rajesh, Tony, recognized a nation in flux, its institutions vulnerable, and its newly empowered officials susceptible to influence. Through cultivating the favor of South Africa's political elite, particularly future President Jacob Zuma, this family would build a shadow empire so vast that it would drain billions from state coffers and eventually force them to flee to Dubai, leaving behind a wounded nation demanding answers. Thus, in today's episode of Old Money Luxury, join us as we unravel the audacious tale of how 3 ambitious brothers forever changed the course of South Africa's young democracy. In the dying days of apartheid, as South Africa trembled on the brink of democratic transformation, 3 brothers from a dusty town in northern India saw something that others missed. Where the world watched a nation wrestling with its demons, Ajay, Atul, and Rajesh, Tony Gupta, perceived a web of opportunity waiting to be spun. The Gupta's origins were modest. A middle-class Indian family from Saharanpur, their surname derived from an ancient Sanskrit word meaning to protect. Their ancestral name echoed with historical resonance, sharing lineage with the mighty Gupta Empire that once dominated the subcontinent. Yet these modern Guptas harbored ruthless ambitions that would have impressed even their imperial namesakes. Before setting their sights on African shores, the brothers had already displayed a talent for operating in the shadows of legitimacy. Ajay, the eldest, cut his teeth in Delhi's grey markets, moving computers and spices across the porous Nepal-India border, a proving ground that would serve him well in the years to come. The invasion began quietly in 1993, when Atul Gupta landed in Johannesburg with little fanfare. Their father, Shiv Kumar Gupta, had dispatched his second son with a visionary's conviction that Africa would become the America of the world. In the chaos of a nation's rebirth, Atul found fertile ground for their ambitions. The myth speaks of Atul selling shoes from his car trunk, but reality proved far more calculated. With $350,000 in seed capital, he established Sahara Computers that same year, christening it with dual meaning, a nod to both their hometown and the vast desert that symbolized their new hunting ground. Their timing was impeccable. As Nelson Mandela assumed the presidency in 1994, South Africa was throwing open its doors, desperate for investment and unencumbered by the bureaucratic restraints that had stifled the brothers in India. From a rented house in Johannesburg, Atul began assembling and selling computers, laying the foundation stone of what would become an empire. The growth was meteoric. While Ajay managed their Indian interests and Rajesh completed his education, Atul worked tirelessly to expand their foothold. By 1999, Sahara Computers' annual turnover had reached $9 million. Thus, with calculated precision, Atul began maneuvering into new territories, each venture another piece in an intricate power play. You see, the Guptas weren't building a business empire. They were constructing a shadow state, with tendrils reaching into South Africa's most valuable sectors, particularly the nation's mineral wealth. They cultivated an intricate web of relationships with government officials, having recognized that in post-apartheid South Africa, true power flowed not from market share, but from ministerial corridors. And as their influence grew, so did their appetite for grandeur. The Guptas acquired a sprawling estate in Saxonwold, Johannesburg's elite enclave, a compound that would later become notorious as their personal court, where the fate of Africa's wealthiest nation would be decided over elaborate dinners and whispered conversations. Ajay Gupta, sensing the approaching opportunities, abandoned his Indian operations and relocated permanently to South Africa. The brothers were preparing for what would become their masterpiece of political engineering. You see, in 2003, there came the meeting that would change everything. A rising star in the African National Congress named Jacob Zuma arrived at their compound, and what appeared to be a chance encounter was, in truth, the opening move in a game that would shake South Africa to its foundations. In the shadowy nexus between politics and business, the Gupta family's ascent reached new heights through their masterful cultivation of South Africa's future president. Their 2003 encounter with Jacob Zuma at Sahara Estate appeared, on the surface, to be merely another gathering of the political elite at a wealthy family's compound. Yet this meeting would prove to be the cornerstone of a relationship that would reshape South African politics for years to come. Plus, they benefited from showing up at the right time. Zuma, then deputy president under Thabo Mbeki, stood at a critical juncture in his political career. Despite his elevated position, secured in 1999, his relationship with Mbeki had grown increasingly fractured, their ideological differences and personal ambitions creating deepening fissures within the ANC leadership. And the political waters around Zuma were already turbulent. He faced mounting pressure from corruption allegations tied to the arms deal, a controversial defense procurement package that had cast a shadow over his deputy presidency. While the National Prosecuting Authority had acknowledged a prima facie case of corruption, their decision not to prosecute only intensified the political drama, sparking heated disputes between Zuma's supporters and the NPA. In this atmosphere of political intrigue and mounting pressure, the Guptas recognized an opportunity. Their meeting with Zuma, orchestrated under the guise of a routine political function, represented more than a simple introduction. For Zuma, embroiled in an escalating power struggle with President Mbeki, the Guptas offered what every aspiring leader needs: wealthy allies with deep pockets and few scruples. And the brothers, with their characteristic prescience, backed Zuma when his star seemed to be fading, a calculated gamble that would yield astronomical returns when he claimed the presidency in 2009. As Zuma's influence grew, the Guptas began weaving an intricate web of family connections. They installed his wife, Bongine Ngema Zuma, at their mining company JIC Mining Services, while quietly arranging payments for her 3.8 million rand Pretoria mansion. His daughter Duduzile was awarded a directorship at Sahara Computers mere months after Zuma's elevation to ANC leadership. But it was through Zuma's son Duduzane that the Guptas truly perfected their art of state infiltration. Starting as a mere trainee at Sahara Computers, their flagship IT company, in 2003, the young Zuma rapidly accumulated directorships across the Gupta Empire. And yet, no one could have predicted how this seemingly mundane job placement would alter South Africa's political landscape. The Guptas' cultivation of Duduzane's favour was calculated and lavish. They installed him in a $1.3 million apartment in Dubai's Burj Khalifa, the world's most prestigious address. Five-star vacations became routine, while luxury vehicles, including a Porsche, appeared at his disposal. But these extravagances were mere window dressing for the Guptas' wider ambitions. During this period, their business interests metastasized beyond their IT roots. They secured lucrative government contracts for computer laboratories in South Africa's wealthiest province, acquired a strategic uranium mine, and muscled their way into coal mining operations. Their 2006 acquisition of a stake in ArcelorMittal's R9 billion empowerment deal raised eyebrows about the true beneficiaries of state programs designed to address apartheid's economic legacy. As Jacob Zuma's star rose within the ANC, culminating in his 2007 election as party president, the Guptas' influence grew in lockstep. They had masterfully positioned themselves as power brokers within the party, with Duduzane serving as their direct line to the presidency. What appeared on the surface as a successful business empire's natural evolution into political influence was, in reality, a carefully orchestrated capture of state power. Thus, whispers began circulating through Johannesburg's corridors of power about the true nature of the Guptas' influence, tales of ministerial appointments made in their compound, of state enterprises bent to their will, of a shadow state emerging within South Africa's young democracy. As the walls began to close in on the Gupta family's vast network of influence and corruption, a series of events unfolded that would ultimately lead to their downfall and flight from South Africa. See, by 2009, what began as a computer sales venture had mutated into something far more insidious. The Gupta family's influence had metastasized throughout South Africa's governmental infrastructure with such precision that a new term entered the national lexicon: state capture. Their political manipulation became so intertwined with then-President Jacob Zuma's administration that South Africans coined another term, Zupta, to describe this shadowy fusion of power. The scope of their control was staggering. The Guptas' influence permeated every significant organ of state power, from the ministries of finance and natural resources to the vital arteries of South Africa's infrastructure: the national broadcaster SABC, South African Airways, the rail freight operator Transnet, and the energy behemoth Eskom. Each institution became another piece on their grand chessboard, but the depth of their interference reached its most brazen in March 2016, when Deputy Finance Minister Macabisi Jonas revealed a stunning offer. The Guptas had attempted to purchase his loyalty with 600 million rand, equal to $41 million, in exchange for accepting the finance minister position, along with certain business considerations. This was no isolated incident. The appointment of Mosebenzi Zwane as Minister of Mineral Resources in 2015 bore their fingerprints, a strategic move that coincided with the sale of a major coal mine to their business interests. Through a web of carefully cultivated relationships and strategic appointments, the Guptas had essentially created a parallel power structure within South Africa's government. State-owned enterprises became their personal fiefdoms, with executives at companies like Eskom and Transnet dancing to their tune while lucrative government contracts flowed like water into their corporate coffers. The financial web spun by the Guptas began to unravel in October 2016, when Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan dropped a bombshell in the Pretoria High Court. His affidavit revealed suspicious transactions linked to the family totaling approximately $368 million, 6.8 billion rand. a figure that would prove to be merely the tip of an iceberg of corruption. The nation's banking sector moved swiftly. Between April and May 2016, South Africa's major financial institutions, Standard Bank, Nedbank, FNB, and ABSA, systematically severed all ties with Gupta-linked enterprises, citing reputational concerns and suspicious activities. The government's response was telling. Rather than investigating the Guptas, they established a cabinet committee to interrogate the banks themselves, with thinly veiled threats regarding their operating licenses. As investigators began pulling at loose threads, the true scale of the operation emerged. The South African Council of Churches and Academic Researchers uncovered a vast money laundering operation. Between 2011 and 2017, an estimated $2.1 billion, $6 billion, 40 billion rand, had been methodically siphoned from state-owned enterprises and transferred to Dubai, leaving South Africa's vital institutions financially hemorrhaging. By 2018, with investigations intensifying, the Guptas had vanished to Dubai, leaving behind a wounded nation demanding answers. The subsequent Zondo Commission, established under pressure by then-President Zuma, would spend years unraveling their elaborate scheme. Its final report in June 2022 painted a devastating picture. $3.08 billion, 57 billion rand in state funds had been compromised, with the Gupta enterprise directly receiving $810 million, 15 billion rand. The Commission meticulously documented how they had infiltrated key institutions, manipulated tender processes, and transformed political appointments into commodities. But even as the Guptas luxuriated in Dubai, successfully fighting off extradition attempts, their actions had set in motion something far larger than South Africa's domestic tragedy. Global financial institutions, from London to Singapore, began scrutinizing their exposure to similar schemes, while international law enforcement agencies started connecting dots between various corporate capture operations worldwide. The Gupta saga had inadvertently exposed the soft underbelly of modern democracy, how three brothers from Saharanpur had written a playbook for state capture that would send shockwaves through the corridors of power across 4 continents. The international pursuit of the Gupta family marked a new chapter in global anti-corruption efforts. On the 10th of October 2019, the U.S. Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control delivered the first significant blow, sanctioning all 3 brothers and their associate Salim Essa under the Global Magnitsky Human Rights Accountability Act. This wasn't merely a diplomatic gesture, it was financial warfare, effectively severing the Guptas from the world's largest economy and its labyrinthine banking system. The implications rippled through international financial markets. U.S. institutions scrambled to identify and freeze Gupta-linked assets, while global banks intensified their scrutiny of transactions connected to the family's vast network of shell companies and business interests. The message was clear. Corruption at this scale would no longer enjoy the shelter of international indifference. Hope briefly flickered in June 2022 when Dubai police, responding to an Interpol red notice, arrested Atul and Rajesh Gupta. The timing seemed perfect. A newly minted extradition treaty between the UAE and South Africa had just taken effect the previous July. South African prosecutors prepared for what they hoped would be the final act in this decade-long drama. But the UAE's legal system had other plans. On the 6th of April 2023, South African Justice Minister Ronald Lamola received the devastating news. Dubai's courts had rejected the extradition request, citing insufficient legal documentation. The decision left South African authorities stunned, with Lamola publicly declaring the reasoning inexplicable. As of early 2025, the Gupta brothers remain comfortably ensconced in Dubai's luxury developments, beyond the reach of South African justice. Despite their US sanctions and international notoriety, they continue their lives of privilege while South Africa's National Prosecuting Authority pursues increasingly futile legal strategies. Their saga stands as a stark reminder of how the world's patchwork of legal jurisdictions and varying standards of evidence can provide safe harbor for those with enough wealth and influence to exploit them.